Sketch the graph of the function r of x equals x squared minus 1 all over x squared minus 4. And we also want to make sure we find the intercepts and the asymptotes. Okay? So the first thing we want to do then is we want to factor the numerator and denominator. Okay? The reason why is we want to see if anything cancels out. Okay? So in this case, the numerator, we can factor that into x plus 1, x minus 1, and the denominator, we could factor that into x minus 2, x plus 2. So nothing cancels out, okay, which is, it's not good or bad, right? But nothing cancels out here. All right, so let's find in no particular order. So let's go ahead and find the x-intercepts. Okay, to find the x-intercepts, we set the numerator equal to 0. Now in this case, there's two factors, right? So we actually have to set each factor equal to 0. So that means that we're going to have two x-intercepts, right? -1 and +1. Okay, now remember these are intercepts, so we can write it as a point. -1, 0, and +1, comma 0. To find the y-intercept, very simply, we just plug in 0, right? So we plug in 0 for x. You notice we get 0 minus 1 over 0 minus 4, so that's a +1/4. So the y-intercept is a point as well, right? 0, comma 1/4. Right, so we can do the vertical asymptotes next. Once again, order doesn't really matter. But to find the vertical asymptotes, we set the denominator equal to 0. So similarly, there are two factors, which means we are going to have two vertical asymptotes here. Okay, and these are lines, so this is the equation of a line. X equals +2 and x equals -2. And lastly, to find the horizontal asymptote, we have to compare the degree, right? To compare the power of the numerator and the power of the denominator. So what is the highest exponent of x that we see in the numerator? Right? The highest exponent we see in the numerator is 2. So I'll just write n equals 2 for the degree of the numerator. And then the degree of the denominator, in this case, it's actually the same, right? So what do we do when the degrees of the numerator and denominator are the same? Right? We have to divide the leading coefficient. So 1x squared divided by 1x squared is just 1. So the horizontal asymptote is line y equals 1. All right, so the next thing we want to do now that we've found all 4 items, we'll just go ahead and plot all 4 items on our graph. So let's see, asymptotes are usually in red here, right? So we got -2, or x equals -2, I should say, and x equals +2. And our asymptote, our horizontal asymptote is y equals 1. And what are the points that we have? We have the point -1, 0, +1, 0, and 1/4, like that. Okay. All right, so now we want to draw the graph, right? So in order to draw the graph, we need to first have a good idea of the role that the vertical and the horizontal asymptote play, right? So the idea is for every x value, there must be some corresponding y value. Okay? So there's actually two things that this graph could be doing. We could follow the horizontal asymptote this way and go up like that. Or the other thing that we could be doing is following the horizontal asymptote and then following the vertical asymptote down that way. But then how do we know, right? How do we know? Okay, well, there's one easy way to figure that out. We just plot a point, right? When x is, let's say, -3, right? So let's try that, okay? What happens when I plug in 3 into the function? Or -3, I should say, right? If you plug in -3, we get 9 minus 1. And if you plug in -3, -3 squared is 9, so 9 minus 4, right? We actually get 8/4, which is 2. So when x is -3, the y value is +2. So hopefully, just by doing that, we get an idea of what the graph is doing, right? We can plug in f of -4, right, just to see what we get. But I'm pretty sure the graph will be doing something like this, okay? Because we always follow the vertical asymptotes, okay? And we also follow the horizontal asymptotes. And there are no intercepts down here, right? So we're not going to cross the x-axis down here. Similarly, in between, I'm pretty sure the graph is going to be doing something like this, right? Remember, these are points on the graph, so we must follow the points, and we must follow the vertical asymptotes. Okay, and lastly now, what is the graph doing on this side? Okay, so it could be doing one of two things, right? We could be following the graph up and follow the horizontal asymptote that way, or we could be going this way, following that vertical asymptote and following the horizontal asymptote again. Okay? Hopefully you can pretty much figure out what's happening, right? But let's just be safe. Let's try plugging in f of 4, right? When x is equal to 4, right, we get 16 minus 1, and then we get 16 minus 4, which is 10, which is about 1.5. So when x is equal to 4, the y value is 1.5. Okay? So what can we conclude then? Yeah, I'm pretty sure the graph will look a little something like this. All right, make sure you know how to find the asymptotes and the asymptotes and the intercepts, right? But also, right, you need a good understanding of the shape of the graph. Remember, we never do anything squiggly or do sharp lines or turn back. Okay, so we follow the asymptotes.